Oh, there you go. The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, thank you. So I appreciate everyone coming this morning. We're talking about creating a kvCORE campaign, and just a little bit about myself. I have a lot of IT background. I have a degree in computer science and about 35 years in IT, and I'm transitioning 100% over to real estate. And so I'm naturally a systems kind of a person, which is really great. And, you know, with EXP, the technology, I believe, gives us, with EXP family, the advantage. We have the advantage through our technology. It's just, and I worked with Keller Williams for 6 years. And I just think the technology in EXP is really just fabulous. And the culture that we have in EXP is just amazing. And then even specifically in this group, and I'd like to say just thanks to George and Phil Beck and Tiffany and all the leaders in this group. I get so much out of it. And this is why this is just a little way I can return, you know, anything back and give back a little bit. So in the chat, I did put my notes, and actually, as I created this campaign, and what I did is, as I created a campaign, I just took screenshots and notes and just step by step, so that you can create what I've done here. And I'm going to just kind of walk through it, and I'm going to share my screen here in a second. But what I did is, a couple of weeks ago, Steve Pugh said he created this a 3x3x3x3, you know, for a new contact. And so he does over 3 days, he does an email, a phone call, and a text. So I thought, well, that'd be a great little campaign that I could create. And so I went ahead and did that. It turned out it's kind of nice because it's kind of a small little thing, but it demonstrates some interesting aspects or dynamics of kvCORE. Okay. And simply what I mean by that is, with kvCORE, just generally, you would use a hashtag. Well, and this is the way I do it. I use a hashtag to start a campaign. If you assign it, that's the beginning of the campaign and kicking it off. And then what I was able to do with this one is, I actually needed to do 3 things every day. And in order to do that, at 3 things in different times, it had to be in 3 different campaigns. Just the way kvCORE is set up, it won't let you, after day 1, there are no more hours. You have to select days. So they try to limit you to 1 day operation at a time, where I needed to do 3 operations over 3 days. So I had to, day 1 campaign kicks off, and then at the end of it does its 3 things. Day 2, then it kicks off the day 2 by assigning the day 2 hashtag. Okay. And then day 2 will run, and then it assigns day 3 hashtag, and it also removes the previous hashtags. So this is kind of interesting, because now you can kind of chain, use this as an example, you can chain these campaigns together. I'm doing 3 campaigns to accomplish the 3x3x3x3. Okay. So, but it's kind of interesting because you can create your own campaigns and then chain them together. And there's even one, as you know, an assignment that you can do is, after you do your 3 days, you probably want to follow up, even if they don't respond, maybe in 3 weeks later. And that's where I would suggest you add another, like a larger campaign that you put them into, that maybe every 3 weeks you do a communication to them, right? So that's something that you could add on to what I'm talking about here. So at any point, y'all feel free to ask me any questions if you have a question. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for my kvCORE. And then I'm basically going to follow, I'm following the handout that I gave. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is we want to make sure that your KV profile is up to date. Okay, kvCORE profile. And so basically, if you go up here to the top right and you select my profile, and this has got all your information. You want to do your professional headshot update. So then you can just click edit profile here and you can change anything and everything in here. And including, so you got all your contact information, social media, and then your bio. But the important things I'm showing you here are the signature. So the signature, which I've embedded my own picture and some EXP logo stuff. And then also text. There's actually a text signature in here. Okay, so these things get appended when you send out emails. These things get appended. Okay, so I just wanted to point this out to start with. So you make those changes and then you click the save button up here. Okay, now the second thing I wanted to show you, that's before we get into the campaign, is how to create a template. Because when you're responding to your like you want to send an email, or if you have an idea of something that you wanted to send over and over again, you can create a template. So what you want to do there is you go to the Marketing and Smart campaign and then go to template. Okay, and then you'll do is you'll say add template. And I have and then email template. I have this in my notes. So everything I'm doing, I'm showing you is in my notes. And then you can assign. And what I do is when I make assignments to a template, I put JTEXP. That's just me. I would suggest that you put a little identifier in the front that shows that this is your campaign, right? Because what's nice about that is when you go to work, when you're working with it, you can always type in your prefix and it'll show you a list of just your campaigns. Okay, that's why I do that. And then so so this is my my email. Like I did one yesterday about video. I found a cool video that I wanted to send out to my people. So I did video and then a subject. So you just I'm not going to type in this information right here, but you do your subject and that. And then basically you don't have to put in a signature because that's going to always be appended. Okay. Now here's something that you may not know. I put in the notes, you may not know this, something I discovered. And it's under in the notes, it's under C. If you create this template, JTEXP video 1, and I fill it in and I save it, if I go and try to use it, I can't find it. It's a limitation of EXP, or not EXP, I'm sorry, kvCORE. What you have to do to use your new template that you just created is you have to log out of kvCORE and then log back into kvCORE. Okay? If you create a new template for your session, in order to use that template, you have to log out and log back in. That's something I discovered myself. I haven't heard that from anybody, but it's a fact. And so just know that. Okay. Now we can go ahead and get to creating the campaign. So if we go to create the campaign, basically I'm going to go here to Marketing Smart campaign. We're going to say add campaign. Okay. And then we're going to use a hashtag to create the campaign, which I did JTEXP new. And when you type them in here, you actually do not put in the pound sign. New lead. And then I did like 3 by 3 by 3 by 3. Okay, this is like how I did it. I'm not going to actually save it, but because I've already created it, and I'm going to show it to you here in a second. And then you're going to want to say always run, yes, and locked. Okay. Another little tip I would do is all of the ones that are pre-existing, I would say always run. That's my opinion. And so that it could potentially run multiple campaigns at once. This is actually important for this one because you're going to have one campaign kicking off another campaign. Okay. So, and then after you have that set, you give it the hashtag. And so the concept is when you create your new contact, you're going to assign them and start this campaign by assigning them this hashtag. Okay. And then design for, let me just go to next. And it probably wants me to, it has a problem because it's saving. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the one that I actually created. So we're going to start with day 1 here. And I'm going to go into the edit, and it's just like as if I was creating it. Okay. Just pretend I'm on that create screen. And design for, so I designed mine for all these 3 here. Types, you select those. Next, give it a campaign name. So mine, I've got this prefix, and then day 1, day 2, day 3 is how I'm going to work it. And then this is your summary. So after you do that, you can say finish. Okay, and that basically creates. At this point, it would be all blank. You wouldn't see this bottom part here. And then this is where we go about adding the details of the campaign. So right now, this campaign actions would all be blank. You're gonna have to use your imagination a little bit, but it's just easier for me to demonstrate it to you this way. So then you say add action, and the first one was a text SMS. Okay. And so then I'm gonna go back to my notes here. And so catching up on my notes. Let's see. Yeah. So in the notes, what I did is I actually had laid out exactly over day 1, day 2, day 3, when I was going to be doing this. And I figured I did a separation of about 3 hours between each communication. And then at the very end of the day, I would start adjusting the hashtags, where I would add the day 2 tag and remove the existing tag. And that's how I'm transitioning from one campaign to the next. Okay. And so go back to my note again. Yeah, so I'm just going to add, we're going to click add action, and you got text SMS, okay, which looks like this here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here and do the edit, because this is what I created. And so you give it a template name and then the contents. And the interesting thing, just as another little tip, okay, is if you type in only on text, it doesn't work in email. If you type in a curly bracket here, it shows you every possible variable that you can fill in here, the pop-up here. So you got lead first name, last name. You can choose all these things. I pretty much just use the lead first name and then agent first name that puts my name in there. But there's all kinds of other, you can go in here and see what all those other variables are down here. This is only available in the text, but it tells you there's like tons of variables that you have access to. Okay. So that's just another little tip for you. But basically, hello, lead name, this is Jeffrey, agent first name from AXP. So this is a kind of an introductory, and just kind of letting them know, kind of first contact. And feel free to change. I just kind of interpreted, from what Steve said to do. And I'm doing the text, and then I'm doing a phone call, and then I'm doing an email. And the cool thing about the call, well, let me finish with the text. So basically, we put in a template name up here. Your message that you're sent, that you're going to text. And then this is the name for the action, which I usually just use the same thing as the template. And then you have agent. If you type in agent here, it automatically fills in contact. And then the first one is going to be minutes. So upon us making the assignment, and this really works really well, upon making the assignment, within 1 minute, this thing shoots out a text. Okay, so instantly, if you sign it to a whole bunch of people, it's going to shoot out a text to a whole bunch of your contacts. All right. So there's text. That's what the text looks like. And I've screen captured all of these in my notes, so you can see what to put in there. And the call. So what's good about this is it puts, when it's time to make the call, it puts it in your kvCORE notification. So I really like the idea of using kvCORE to kind of direct you as to what should I do next, And so that's the great thing. It'll actually give you the script with the name filled and everything to make a phone call inside kvCORE. So I really like this. So I said, apparently you can make it where it just makes the phone call and it gives you a call, but I prefer to work on my own schedule, and I'll let the system remind me that I'm supposed to be calling this person, right? So here's your script for, calling somebody. And then so I select hours and then 3. Okay. And the way these fields work over here, you type it in, you have to select it, and then it's got to show up as a gray bubble. This is kind of a weird thing. So if you go over here and select it, you can't just type it in, you have to select it, right? Okay. So there's the actions that are occurring. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. So we hit save on that, and that's how we create the text, and that's how you do the call. And then the email, it's all pretty similar after this point. You can do a little more highlighting and bolding and whatnot with this, but this is all kind of the same thing. Okay, except now I've got hours and 6, right? So as you can see, like starting time 1 minute, 3 hours, 6 hours. And then late in the evening, I remove. Let's look at this one, see what this looks like. Okay. So this is going to be adding a hashtag here. So I add it, right? And let's just see what that looks like. If we say add action, you're going to say add tag. It's got add tag over here. And then the other one's going to be remove tag. Okay. And so that's how you create this. And then that's pretty much the first day of your campaign, right? And we basically have to do that 2 more times for day 2 and day 3. And let me just see what I got in my notes, because what we're going to use is next thing we're going to do is we're going to clone. We're going to use the clone campaign. This is why I thought it's such a great little example, because it kind of exercises all the different things you need to do for 3 little campaigns that we're linking together, right? So we're going to take day 1 and we're going to clone. So if I have this in my notes, let's see, action. I know I did a clone, or if I didn't, I should have done a clone. I'm pretty sure I did a clone. Okay, so day 1 looks like that. Okay. And I know so what we're going to do next, let me get back. So we basically save that. We're going to come back. Let's see. So we're at day 1, and then now I need to create day 2, right? So what I'm going to do is click clone campaign. I'm going to clone campaign. Okay. And it's as if you're starting, but you're starting with everything filled in for you already, which is, and so we're going to do something similar, except instead of this being day 1, I'm going to make a new hashtag called day 2. Okay. But the nice thing is it's got everything else is going to be the same. So literally change this hashtag to day 2 and you're good to go. So, and then when you come out of this, I'm going to go back to my edit. I'm going back to my edit for day 2. After you clone it, it just fills in all the information for day 1. And what you're going to be doing is making edits to the existing one to make it day 2. As soon as I locate my day 2. Okay, here it is. And so it'll look kind of like this when you clone it. It comes back, except these bottom parts will all be the content of day 1. So then what you do is you go in here and you're going to edit each one of these. And you'll change it. You just change it from, I changed it from first text message to second text message, right? And then I didn't have to actually touch anything else. I changed, you want to change the template name and you want to change the name over here, but then, I replaced the content for the second text message I'm going to send out. And that's it. So when you're cloning it starts to get easier because that's all. So text, call, email, edit each one of those, save it, and then edit this and change it from day 2 to day 3 and edit that one, change it from day 1 to day 2, right? So now you're quickly switching from from day 2 to day 3. We're launching into day 3. So does anyone have any questions or anything so far? Because this is kind of the core of how it works. And I do have all the instructions. I've got it step by step. You can follow it real easy in my notes. Okay. I made sure as I was doing it, I took snapshots for everything I did.
Yeah, one of the things, Jeffrey, changing the name on the top, you said you could change the name from either the first name or the first name and the last name. Is that correct?
The first name, you mean for the lead here?
For the when you make the template and it says, okay, hi John Roberts, or you
Right.
say hi John, how do you change that for just the first name versus first name and last name?
Okay. And so like I have all mine are just hi first name. That's how mine are. But if you wanted to make it, if you wanted to make a change, if you wanted to have like do the first name and the last name, see, I'm in texting, so it shows you what you could select. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and select last name. So it says hello, first name, last name. See, if I was in email, I'd actually have to know that this thing is lead last name. It works differently in the email editor. Okay, but that's how that works. So and the great thing is once you have these variables set in there, you don't have to touch your messages. They're all ready to go for everybody. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you.
Okay. So that's how we're handing off. So once again, okay. And I think to start with, when you create these, the campaign up here active is going to be off. Okay. Right now, all these are on right now for me, but they're going to be off. One of the last things we're going to go do is flip these things on so that they become active, right? So this I'll show you that after we finish. So the next thing would be to clone this one. So we do the clone again, and then we're cloning into day 3. Day 3 is our last day. Day 3, and we'll just edit. This is when you hit clone, it'll kind of look like this, but instead of day 3, it'll say day 2. So you just click the X, type in your new hashtag that you're creating. Okay, and we have always run yes. Okay, and then And then, all these, none of this stuff has to change here. Campaign name, you do want to change it from day 2 to day 3. Okay. Then we'll save that. And then same deal, you go down here and you edit each one of these to represent day 3. So you go for the text, I'm going to edit, and I'm going to change for the day 3 message, change the titles. It's all repetitive. It's kind of like real estate. You just kind of do the same thing over and over and over again, right? So, so, the neat thing is it's not hard to do once you understand how it works, and it's really not hard. It's just there's steps involved with creating it, but I think it's worthwhile because now when you create those new contacts, you can when you put it into your kvCORE, you can just assign that hashtag and know over the next three days they're going to get contacted. You're going to be reminded to make the phone calls. I think it's a really cool script, actually. And of course, kvCORE doesn't have anything like it because Steve Pugh is the one who came up with this. So I think it's a great idea. So that was day 3. So that's the end of that. Let me show you. I tested it by I created a record. Now here's the thing in kvCORE. They do have some limitations when you do import by bulk. A lot of times. So what I'm interested in is when you all use this and if you've imported your contacts by bulk, how it works, because I import all mine either manually or I use an email interface, which does not have the bulk. It does not have the restrictions that you get. Okay. Because I think they put some kind of restrictions when you do the bulk email. And it has to do with your texting and your emailing. So I know that it works. This works fine if you do a manual on the CRM. Okay. If you do a manual add, if I manually up here quick, if I say add contact and I manually add a contact this way here, yeah, we click these buttons here, call, and it's interesting, call, text, email. Those are the 3 things that we're doing, right? So we just need to make sure that the record has all these 3 on, especially when you do the bulk email. If you do a bulk import, somehow you need to make sure kvCORE turns all these flags on for you, right? I'm afraid they may turn some of these things off, and that's what you're going to have to double check that. Okay. It's important that all these 3 things stay on, because that's how this is how the script's going to work. But I created my example was my cat, George Thompson. He's my cat. And we have to go backwards. So this is how I created him manually. And then I assigned him the hashtag. So you got to, make the assignment, which you do the hashtag assignment right here on this side over here. And then it automatically, okay, 4:45 on 4:46, same time. So 1 minute later, boom, sent George a text message, right? Hello, George. So it sent him the text message, and it gives them the first time it sends out, it's like, okay, we're going to give you the stop and unsubscribe automatically, right? So they're kvCORE is obeying all the rules that we need for communicating. And then so that was at 4:46, and then okay, and then later, let's see. So he's set up as a buyer. I had him set up as a buyer, and then it automatically assigned later that night. So the timing is not exactly. Let's see, is that right? It's at 4:45. So anyway, it did do a call reminder. It happened at 1 o'clock in the morning, but it's okay. I mean, it did run it. And then the next day, a little bit later, it sent the email out. So that was all within, 1 day, 24-hour period. And so what's nice is, when it does the call schedule, is it reminds you, and it's in your notifications, which I'll show you. It's that right here, your notifications right here. That's where it shows up. Okay. And go back to George. And so looking at what happened. So, you know, the nice thing about this is I didn't have to touch the record at all. Once I made that assignment, okay, you'll see, here we go. Roughly, you know, 23 hours later, it's added the new hashtag automatically. Okay, and then a little bit later, you know, okay, so it added it. And then here, a couple hours later, it removed it. In the meantime, you know, here we go. We kicked off. So you kind of have a little bit of overlap between the two campaigns. This is the second text message. So, and here I had a little typo that was supposed to be agent first name in there. And then, but you can see that ran automatically. It removed the first one. So now we've effectively switched over to campaign number 2. And I would just encourage everybody, you know, use this as a template to create your own campaigns. And by linking them together like this, you literally, it's unlimited what you can do, because you can do multiple things in a single day, link it to another one, do a bunch of stuff on the next day, right? And so here, once again, it's sending the email. Okay, and here's where I actually was making phone calls, or simulating me making phone calls. So you're prompted to do the calls, it's sending the email, and then it's sending the text. Okay, so this is the end of day 2. So now it's adding day 3. And once again, text, call, email. Okay, there's your call, there's your text for day 3, your call for day 3, your email for day 3. And then it finishes up, it removes it, and you're all done. I mean, so I clear it all out. But this is where I was just saying, in the end, you can have it wait for 3 more weeks or what, or, you know, or you could kick off another one at the end to wait 3 weeks, or, you know, and then have it send a message. Maybe you could wait 3 weeks and then kick off another campaign, you know, to send off another message, to do a whole, maybe you're just going to contact them every 3 weeks, you know. So that's cool. You can, you link these things, chain them together, chain these campaigns together like this. Really interesting. And you have no limit as to, you know, what you're doing with it. Okay. So that's the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
So for the campaigns, does it have a cancel on reply?
Yes, it does. So the very first every time it sends a new message, like, let me go in to look at George again. It tells you, you know, stop or unsubscribe, and they have to, I think, do that legally here, and they take care of that for you right there. Stop or unsubscribe.
No, I mean, like, because obviously it's set up to where by the end of the 22 hours, it's going to add the second hashtag and then the third hashtag.
So,
Is there a cancel on reply? Like if they actually reply to the text message or the emails?
yes, it's automatic. So if they stop, it stops the current campaign, and there won't be any other campaigns, because they stopped that one. So that it won't launch another campaign or anything. I think that's what you're asking, right? It'll stop the campaign.
So not that they're typing stop, right? Like they're not unsubscribing, but just if they reply, because like as an example, say that I send out a message and then somebody replies, yeah, I'd love for you to, you know, list my house, give me more information.
Okay. All right, I got you there. So I use a smart number. And I'm so used to using the smart number. Exactly how that works. If you don't use a smart number, I would think what's going to happen is you're going to have a return text, and those replies would come back to whatever your return text is. For me, that's the smart number, and I get all those replies coming back from my kvCORE smart number. So I always pay attention to what's going on with my kvCORE text responses. You see what I'm saying? So I would pick that up myself directly. And as far
Right.
as the campaign, it doesn't really affect the campaign. It would not.
What I'm
affect-
saying is, like say that somebody replies to the campaign, like on day one,
Right,
it still has 2 days of the campaign left over.
right.
So do we have to manually shut the campaign off when they
Yes.
reply, or is it gonna do it on its own?
No, you have to manually do it yourself. Yeah, so you'd have to go in there, click stop. If you don't want it to communicate anymore to them, yes, you would need to manually click stop, correct? Yes, okay. Any
Thank
other questions? All right, so I appreciate it. I didn't really have, I checked the chat. I haven't really been following the chat. Let's see if we have any messages. Okay. All right. All right. So I thought it was a pretty cool little example because it really exercises the campaigns, and you get 3 of them short, but you have an example, one of each example, which is also kind of handy too, right? So thought it was a really good little example, and I think it's going to be quite useful. I'm going to be using this one myself, So whenever I put in a new person, I'll make sure and tag that, my day one communication, and just let that kick off. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm glad that hopefully that helps. And I, once again, really appreciate everyone who shares every morning, Tiffany and all her great work, and George. And I mean, it's great to be a new person on the block and have all this resource. And the thing is, EXP is amazing because of all the amazing training and all the resource, but it's great to have a guide to all the amazing stuff that you have out there, which I refer to the mother of all spreadsheets. That's what I call it. What George came up with. I think he likes
Jumpstart
that name.
checklist.
I call it the mother of all. I guess it's massive, but
It's a beast.
it's so great. And and he's made it public. He's shared it. I think he said he shared it with the EXP corporate people, and so I think that's
He
great
did.
to be able to give back like that. So anyway.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey, for your
Okay.
time. I'm going to go ahead and cut the recording.